Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. Every single Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we are here to bring you live value. So whether you're watching us live in our YouTube channel right now, or watching us live on Zoom, or whether you're watching us live in our Facebook group, you are live. Also, we have a tremendous recorded audience. So a lot of you might be in YouTube watching this. We want you to pretend as though it's a live experience. Make comments in comments down below, ask questions below. So this is a mastermind style conversation, although we do have a special guest today. We have Mr. Scott Nicholson. What's up, Scott?
Hello, how are you?
We're doing good, man. So for those of you who don't know, Scott is a top producing mortgage professional, mortgage entrepreneur. And I've always thought of Scott as just the ultimate mortgage advice nerd. When it comes to being a black belt, like we have black belts, we have red belts, and he is both a black belt and a red belt mortgage coach. But he also is just super creative with how he can help a family go from I have a goal and I have a problem to let me show you how a mortgage can help you achieve that goal and solve that problem. So he's going to share some ideas today that if you were doing a live event, like a Zoom event or a Facebook live event, any type of virtual event with a realtor, how would you do that in a way that would get more buyers and sellers for both you and the realtor? So when I did that interview with Tom Ferry a few weeks ago, Tom was saying that every loan officer who's local should be partnering with local realtors and doing these live events. So Scott's going to give you a blueprint and he's going to show you what he's doing and how he's doing it. So before we get into that, we've got my wingman and co-host, Todd Bookspan. What's up, Todd?
Hey, not much. Good to be here. I always love starting off my Friday this way, and it's always great to have Scott on because I think whenever something new comes out in this community, Scott's the person who puts his marketing hat on and figures out how can I take that and make it not just actionable, but how can I take it to just a level higher than most people think about. So I'm super excited for that part. But wanted to kick it off, right? I posted an article that was in CNBC a few days ago about Google teaming up with the CFPB on mortgage websites. And I was surprised it didn't get a lot of run, but as you always do, Dave, you do such a great job of finding an article, reading it, and then you're really tactical in how you feed it back to our community about what they should be thinking about. And I think anytime, our clients, we know they all go on Google and they're asking Mr. Professor Google, for advice and often get bad advice. And now this is CFPB advice, so it's going to be accurate advice, but it may not be how you as a loan originator may be thinking your client should be learning. And then of course, if they're driving consumers there, it's surrounded by tons of ads and it's pushing interest rates, which I think is a really interesting piece of it. So Dave, what were your big takeaways when you read all the information and checked out the site?
Well, it came in through our engineering team, like literally within hours of the announcement. It was in Mortgage Coach Slack channel. So there was an internal dialogue. I saw that you had posted on it. And then I had noticed this morning that it hit Rise and Grind, or Rise and Shine. Josh Pett, love his newsletter, even though I don't always say it right. Rise and Shred. It was the top article in Rise and Shred. And I just thought, like, you know what? There's a couple takeaways that I have that I didn't put in the post, but I think there's takeaways that every loan officer should have. And that is just, guys, Google is getting smarter than ever at helping families get their questions answered. And families are going to Google it. And so I think it's important that you as a mortgage professional put yourself in the shoes of a family that uses Google and do some of the keyword searches that you would do and make sure you know what information they're getting. So, check number one. I also think it's important that we as mortgage advisors, we're always going beyond what Google's doing. Like the fact that Google and even the CFPB to me is a major problem, that they're not advocating, hey family, when you get a mortgage decision, always get options. And that's not like part of the education. And the fact that, CFPB and Google isn't saying every time you get a mortgage, look at the cost of that loan compared to others over time. Guys, it's a mess. This is common sense. And yet Google and the CFPB are not giving families the information they need to make common sense good mortgage decisions. They're also not talking about, there's no education around the power of prepaying your mortgage. So at the end of the day, for a local provider, you have value beyond Google. I just think it's important that you know what Google's saying, and then you know how to transition from Google to what you're saying. Another key takeaway as a technologist, I was stunned at the fact that they released it, and really the release and the notice is a mobile only feature. Like if you search that on your desktop, you don't get call it the new packaged mortgage, Google mortgage value. It's only on a mobile device. So I found that interesting. At Mortgage Coach, like we don't release anything until it works on all devices, Android, Apple, desktop, iPad. I don't know if we'll rethink that now, but the fact that Google released something like this, they allowed that press release to take place, and really it only applies to a mobile phone. I think it just further should be an explanation to everyone listening to this. Mobile matters most. If Google is releasing features in a mobile only fashion, mobile matters most. That should be the takeaway. Scott, any takeaways on it before we get into the topic at hand?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and I missed Todd's post too, and then actually Googled it, and actually Googled it from my phone. So all of it came up, because I searched through my phone. I was like, wow, look at that. I mean, they put a lot, 2 or 3 underneath the ads is all of that information. So it got me thinking, like, all that information, so to speak, is in paper disclosures, right? So I wonder if CFPB is going, hey, Google, hey, CFPB, let's make a partnership here. Let's take your, quote, educational experience for the consumer. Let's take it online. We'll help you get there. Not only that, we'll have a better experience for the client, quote, educational, but not only that, we're going to maybe sell ads right above all that stuff. So you can see that partnership, makes sense. And so what does that think about? I was in LO, like, holy smokes, man, if I have no online experience, whoa, wait a second. People are starting to rush ahead of me in line on this online experience. I need to figure something out. And what's really interesting, I'm doing a refi yesterday, and they go, hey, we looked online, we looked at your TCA, we looked online, and they got some simple stuff, but we went very deep. We were investing all that. They go, wow, that's just information we've never heard before. So I think the online is there, but it's very vanilla, like you were saying. So going into that TCA, getting in front of that client, and here's what's super cool. If at some point, I'll give it to you in this webinar, I mean, this is almost teed up for us here. I'm going to show you something to really take and compete against these guys online at Days In today in this hour. So super excited about all this stuff.
I think that's cool. I would throw one thing in there too, is it does say on there how to compare, loan offers, and it tells them to go out and get a loan estimate. So I think it's teeing everybody up to pitch the script that we heard from Todd Duncan last week, around, what makes you different, right? And I think it's a whole idea of modifying that script and adding in, something about other loan officers giving out loan estimates, and that you're going to give them a total cost analysis. I think it totally tees you up to differentiate yourself for any consumer that that's been there. So you really want to familiarize yourself with what they may see so that you're prepared to overcome what they've just read.
Right.
That's a really, really good point. So one final thought and just piece of advice for everyone is I do think if I was doing an online presentation to families now, I might be a little more intentional around, hey, this is what you're going to hear on Google, but this is what you can't find with an online search. And this is what the best of the best know. So I would do that framing. And I like what you said, Todd. If I was writing my, my intro, Todd talks about, hey, most lenders are going to quote you a rate within the first, 3 seconds or 3 minutes. And I might build Google into that because, Google is a thing, guys. People Google. People are searching for homes with Zillow, and you need to find out where a buyer is, what they know, how they're self-educating, and then you need to bring them into your advice perspective. And my final thoughts before we bring in Scott is we talk all the time around how there's national brands, there's national knowledge. Our job is to localize it. Like, what does this mean to you locally? And what does this mean to you personally? So I would love to know any other ideas or thoughts on what does this mean? You know, what were your takeaways? If you're in this community and you're going to integrate that into your conversation, let us know how. I'm sure we'll see some people marketing, and it will be buzz around the mortgage industry for a week. So put your comments down below or in my post or Todd's post. So Scott, let's get into it. You know, you are successfully doing live events with real estate agents, and with the goal of helping realtors get more listings and more buyers. It's all about helping agents sell more homes. So tell us, you know, what are you doing? You know, what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the world changed, you know, in February, March, you know, kind of threw us a curveball. I mean, shoot, I'm right here in the home office, and it's going to be this environment, I think we all agree, for some time to come. So how do, you know, and I got my hat on like, oh, shoot, I can't be doing any live events. I can't do, you know, one-on-one consultations. How do I get onto Zoom? How do I get online? How do I take my educational, you know, pitches online to educate my agents and get into my consumers and all that stuff? So I go, shoot, you know, and before I get going here, here's a shout out to Mr. Bill Hart. And so, you know, we're all working our 15-hour days and get off my lawn, and Bill Hart's like going, you guys are just blessed and super fortunate, but do something with this time. Do something with your finances that you can maybe afford to build stuff out. So every time I get tired of building these presentations or I'm going to show you some other stuff, I keep thinking of Bill Hart and going, come on, you guys are better than this. Come on, you can take this to the next level and build stuff. So Bill Hart, this stuff is for you, dude. So
that was so good, Scott, when he did that. And if you guys haven't seen that video, Bill posted it in the group.
Yeah.
You've got to watch it and just think, how does this apply to me?
Yeah.
Hey, so sure. one more push, guys, before we move off that. I did a post that was inspired by that, where I said, hey, for this month, July, let's not brag about how many loans we close. Got that from Bill Hart. Right. But I said, let's brag about how much money we save people. So I want to remind the mortgage coach community, you should be tracking how much money you should save people, and you should post and promote that on social media. Yeah. And what Scott's going to talk about right now, you should be measuring how much wealth are you helping family build by buying homes. So I would love to see some of you guys out there start tracking that. I'm actually going to call it out when Scott shows a strategy that helps a family build wealth. We're going to scoreboard that, cha-ching, and brag about it. So keep going, Scott. This is great.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Bring this over. So I'm going to show you, or I'm going to share two things to start. So this would be, hey, you know, refis are going to end sooner or later. I've been neglecting my purchase business. How do I get back into that model? How do I deal with COVID? How do I bring my educational, you know, experiences, you know, online? So I'm going to teach you two presentations to really go after agents, and the second, go after one agent and their database. So we're going to go into that database. And the one thing I thought of when we get into the second one here is your HomeBot, all those HomeBot people. So the CRMs, but not only as HomeBot, taking that move up type experience with your agent and going into those HomeBot past clients of theirs. So I built it for that particular reason for myself. So here, I'm just going to...
So Scott, real quick, I just want to make sure everybody understands what they're looking at. We're going to assume right now that you have partnered with a local realtor. Yep. You guys have promoted this, and you have a combination of wannabe homeowners and homeowners watching it. Is what we're looking at on the screen. These are the visuals that you'd be using in that educational experience. Is that right?
Yeah, almost. This is going to my group of agents only. So this is agent facing first, right? So the first.
Okay. So this is the visuals you'd use to get the agents on board. Yeah. And then we're gonna have a separate one where it's agents and buyers. Okay. Cool. Got it.
Agent first. We're going selling in a pandemic, and so And I'm going to go somewhat fast through this, kind of blaze through it. These are some of the slides, I speak about. And in this particular slide, I want the person I'm really focusing on is
So
listing.
Scott, one more quick question. Whether you were doing a one-on-one with an agent
Yep.
or whether you were doing like a lunch and learn at a real estate office, the conversation would be tailored different, but
Yep.
you would be using these visuals to tell the story you're telling. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Just, and that's what it is. There's, Roberto and Renee's, storytelling right there, so you don't see a bunch of text. I'm just visual. I'm telling stories. And sometimes if you were to look at my slides, like, where in the world is he going to talk about on this? And so two of the things I wanted to point out, I asked him a couple questions and I go, so imagine Dave and Todd are my agents. So Dave and Todd, do you think in this COVID environment, do you think that today's buyer has higher or lower FICO score? Do you think they have more or less debt? Do you think they make more or less income, right? Do they have more or less down? So think about this I promise you, most of them make probably less money. Those who have kept their jobs have taken that small haircut. There's no bonuses. There's no overtimes. They kept their full-time position, but they're doing it probably 5 or 10% less. Also, now that we're 3 or 4 months into it, and they had that down payment in February, do you think they moved into some of those reserves and spent some of that money? Do you think maybe they didn't have it, they were just the minimum first-time home buyer? Do you think some of that debt went to credit cards? So 2 things I'm going to focus on. I'm going to show you the impact of debt, and I'm going to show you the impact of making less money. And so what I show them here is we're going to focus on debt. What I show them is, so listing agent. So let's imagine you have a $500,000 list or a listing, and that consumer brings on that $275 of increased debt, right? So what blew them away so far is like, whoa, Scott, so you're telling me, so a consumer who's bringing on $275 in a line item debt is going to knock them down $43,000 in their pre-qual. Yeah. So February 1st, they were ready to buy your house. July 24th, nowhere even close to that now. And so what I show them, then I show them, I build a total cost analysis, I do a snippet, and I show them, look guys, on February 1st at $500,000, this is what they were moving into the market, full payment wise of $2,673. May 1st is when I built it and started presenting. May 1st, I had to reduce price all the way down to $447 in order to bring that savings in to offset that debt, to keep my ratios. You follow me there? So that's a huge impact. And I think one of the takeaways is they didn't realize how much just that, like, oh, to $275, a small car. That's $43,000, what is that? $43,000 in debt or less of a pre-qual. Then I show them do the same example, but instead of debt, let's say, no, I've been good. I've been spending my $600 a week. I've been paying debt down, but I've kept my job, Scott, but I don't have overtime and I don't have the bonuses and I don't, I kept it, but I'm making 5% less. Well, what is 5% less? 5% less basically comes in at $275 for this example. On the same sales price, that's $43,000. I don't care if it's no debt, less income. You derive it at $43,000 or same income, right? But debt. So we got into that and I said, well, Scott, these people are going to be coming back to work. Well, okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's take 60% of all those 33 million. So now we have 13 million unemployed. Let me ask you this, Dave and Todd. If your inventory starts to pile up days on market, I'm not talking like 300 days. I'm talking like 30, 45, 60, 90, right? What about the lowball offers coming in? What about the seller who's a buyer who's having the same experience of debt, right? Because he's not having the sales he's used to being, or his income is less. So what is your plan on that? And so I ask him that question.
Real quick. Hey, go back to that slide. So I want everybody to recognize that these are problems that a lot of buyers have and challenges for real estate agents. So it's good to make note of that. And then I also want to remind you guys, if you were talking to a small group, you might ask them, are these big issues to you today in this market? And which one of these three are the biggest issues? Or what are some of your big challenges that aren't on this list? So have a little interaction here, but you're showing like, hey, these are problems. Do you have this problem? Are you seeing this challenge? It's just a great place to have some interaction. And it's a must. If you are doing a online event and you're not covering these problems, you're not speaking to them, you're not following story brand principles, and you're not going to be having as compelling of a conversation. So anyways, really love the slides, love the conversation. Just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, so good. So the one thing that they actually stopped me on in question is this: what do you mean seller's up leg? I go, think about this, listing agent, is your seller's a buyer. So there's a reason why there's pressure on you to perform, to sell this asset, at the maximum amount they can get, right? But your seller is a buyer knowing that they're going to have impact on their debt load they're carrying in, their income that they're driving with their banker and their pre-qual. So there's a lot of pressure, on that from multiple levels. And so I introduced the seller buy down here, and I'll show you how I work this into it. And it really differentiates me from everybody else. Just a really simple background. And here's what I am an expert on. And I know this for a fact, obviously. I can help you counter all lowball offers. So anything that's not full and fair price, bring me into the equation, and I'm going to help you structure that with your buyer's agent and the buyer. I'm going to help you increase a buyer's pre-qual. I'm going to help you maintain the seller's net sheet. I'm going to help you preserve the comps in your farm. And so the first thing, and so pivoting off that slide, let's look at countering. So how many of you now have listings that were presented lowball offers? A vast majority. Yes, we get them. And so, okay, so let's run the scenario. Let's think of why the buyer is actually doing this, right? So we have to find the root of the problem. So let's say this is your listing in the middle. You got your sellers on the right. It's on the market for 5. You got the buyers on the left. They submit an offer for 460, right? They submit it, and so I pull my total cost analysis up and I show them. And so let's say they're putting 10% down on your property. Here's what they're looking at in row 1. 500 down, they're looking at 2705. And so they're going to put a lowball offer in at 460 to your property. Do you realize that's going to save them $210? And so this is how we counter them effectively. So I would step in row 3 and says, all right, so here's how we're going to work this. So you're going to offer us fair and full price at $500,000. I will structure in the purchase contract internally here at the bank a $10,000 seller buy down. And what's going to happen here with that money, I'm going to now the terms I can produce, I'll just cut to the chase, is exact same payment. So think about that. And they're going, well, what just happened, Scott? So I go, I just taught you the seller buy down, and I used a $10,000 seller buy down to effectively counter a $40,000 lowball offer, but yet both have the same price. So we're meeting the needs of the buyer. And let me just keep rephrasing this. Would your seller invest $10,000 in order to save net $30,000? So if this was a property that you said, screw it, let's just take the 460 and go. Well, why not take the 5 with 10 and we deliver the same financial solutions? They're thinking way out of the box. And this was like a mind blow to the agents. Like, whoa, wait a second, pause. So think about what you just did here, Scott, for us. This is an easier conversation for us to go back to the seller and say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 choices now. Either we structure this like Scott, 10, and we'll structure it this way, or we take that offer for 40 less. We'll take the 10 all day long. And so now we go to the next one. And so we just saw, so now my role now as a loan officer to my listing, my servant position as my loan officer to my listing agents and my seller is I'm going to be in the middle here, the negotiator on any offer that is not fair and full price. Bring me in and I will help bring that net sheet back to your seller and preserve your comps like the expert I showed them a few slides ago. Now the next thing, let's go same everything. You got 45 days on market. Trust me, I know it's a hot market. Go 10% over your max county limits right now. I don't care what market you're in. If you're in Orange County, go up at 765, add 10%. If you're in a normal Fannie position at 510 across the country, add 10%. Once you get above that, it's gonna wobble. Consumer is struggling in the jumbo space, and they're struggling gathering more than 10% down. So let's say the listing gets the same property, different problem, goes 45 days on market. Listing agent over here on the left, like, holy smokes, we gotta have this tough conversation. The seller's over here, crossed arms, going, guys, what are we doing here? And so your typical solution, I won't say this directly to an agent, like you guys were trained, and you were trained by I don't know who, is price drop is the rule. Like, really? So let's look at that. And so let's look at a price drop versus a seller buy down. So let's say number one, fact, the property has comps at 500,000. It's not overpriced. If it was overvalued and overpriced, yeah, price reduce it, then we'll play. So let's say the property has 500,000, and if they're going to put 10%, this is your standard financing on your TCA. Here's where the mind blow happens for the agent. If you guys drop it 10,000, which is probably a pretty standard drop right here, 10,000 to 490, look at your savings, $52. And when they see the $52, they go, guys, we're in a COVID environment, remember? We have less money probably. We have a little bit more debt. We're earning less income. Yet you're going to go and you think the $52 is going to solve that problem? No. And if you think it is, well, shoot, let me come in row 3. Let me structure a 3,600 seller buy down and save them the same $52. That way we can save $6,400 back to our seller's net sheet, and think of the conversation you're going to have. Do you go back to the seller and say, should I take 10,000 of your equity or should I take 3,600 of your equity? You tell me. You know, that's an easy conversation for a listing agent now. I'll go back and work 3,600, Scott, you work your magic. But you say, Scott, I've already had that tough conversation. I already have 10K in the budget. Beautiful. Watch what I can do with 10K. First row, we already know what that is. We already know your second row, your 10K. On row 2, your 10K saves $52 on your price drop. My seller buy down, full and fair price, structured in the purchase contract, structured internally here at the bank. I'm going to save $210. I'm going to quadruple your savings. So now I'm dealing with a struggling consumer who want to buy a house but are struggling to make ends meet. And let me put this in perspective to the agent. In the fourth row, I put normal financing back into place. I lowered the price all the way down to $460,000. I did that because I want the same financial benefits as my seller buy down in row 3. So think about this for a second. Let's pause. Do I spend the 10K on a price to drop $52, or do I spend the 10K to save $210? Or think of this, listing agents. Imagine I'm running your open house and we're marketing this. What kind of buyers that are sitting at 460 that love your house? We can get all of those buyers. Now, not only that, this could be someone who's buyer's agent going, no, don't submit it. You're going to offend them at 460. I can now educate them to move them up, increase their buying power 40 grand in this market. So this is where, and I just went backwards. This is where the agents are saying, wow, this is really out of there. I mean, this is something that we really need in this market. And so it's pretty simple from there. I get to the point, and I'm going to start to fast forward just a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time in this.
Real quick before you go off of that.
Yeah.
I want everybody to recognize that, you know, what Scott did when he had this conversation with an agent is he got them to think of problems that they have differently. I am sure that what he showed them is a concept they will not forget. Yeah. So again, that's what he accomplished. I got him to think differently. I showed him a way that they can help people in a way that they probably didn't know they could, and they will never forget it. By the way, your slides are super tight. Why don't you finish this part and then let's
Yeah.
get to the
Move on.
online conversation. And Todd, I'm going to bring you in for takeaways before we get to that. So finish what we got here.
Yeah,
For the
and
Realtor.
so I edited this slide. I took out the number. I want you guys texting a bunch of stuff. So right there, I'll pause the presentation. I go, all right, everyone. I want to put the ammunition that we're speaking about. I want to because a lot of times the hands will go up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. There is no way in God's green earth can we explain that. I go, got you covered. So everyone pull their phones out. And I want you to text SPD Scott right now to this number, 714 da 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 da. And so when they do it, guess what shows up on their phone? My total cost analysis, this report shows up. Me going over live of that TCA. And so now, not only did I give them something different to think about and remember, now they have it physically tangible on their phone to keep referring to and remembering me.
Scott, that is super legit. I don't know if you've done this yet, but I've been on 2 keynotes lately where they showed a QLML code, and I just pulled out my camera and kind of carried it over that, and I got it. Now, I like your tech strategy better, and everybody listening, I think that's the best strategy because you are capturing their mobile number and you're delivering it back. When you use that QLMS code, you may be delivering the content, but you don't necessarily have their mobile number. Of course, there are strategies to use a QLMO code that drive a mobile capture, but I love this strategy because you're putting, you're teaching something they hadn't thought of, and then I hadn't even thought of it until you just did it, and you're putting it on their device so they can reference it after you talked. They download your app. I mean, what a great way to educate and teach realtors. Todd, any thoughts, takeaways before we get into the actual one-to-many webinar with a realtor to homeowners?
I just love it in the Zoom chat. We've got Graham Pruitt saying that he did that for an agent in his networking group that he hasn't been able to get yet. So maybe Graham, you can throw that in the Facebook group. He put a link to his TCA to share how he's executing the same strategy. So no, I think it's great. I think anytime you can put something on the agent's phone to remember you, right? That's that whole app share. And so I agree with you, Dave. I mean, the fact that it's a TCA, of course, is awesome. I know you love that part of it, but it's the whole idea of remember. And then also look at it. He called it SBD Scott. So he's trying to brand himself in there when he's doing it. So how are you differentiating yourself? Because we've all had that where a client or a realtor has said, oh, I just couldn't remember your name and phone number. And so remember, what do you need to do to get onto their phone so that they can find you easily down the road?
Love that. And also, guys, Ryan Grant is working with Scott to roll this out in all of his markets to not only serve real estate agents, but to serve his partnership with Facebook. So, big players are taking notice of this and implementing this idea in the market. I mean, it's a big, big opportunity. Again, I know you got to make the most of the refi boom that's taking place, but this is a great way to add new value to agents. So Scott, anything else on this before we transition and you walk us through?
In what you're really doing, you're giving them the 101 education. Really simple, really slow, a little high level, right? Simple reinforcement, but you're really laying the foundation to say, okay, so I want to work with Dave and Todd now as my agents. These are the people that I match personality-wise. They have their database. So now I'm going to go to the next phase with these two. Let's just say, for example. So now I'm gonna sit down with them and say, hey, I got an idea. Let's go back into, so what if we took this, Todd and Dave, and we took the whole strategy, but we converted it to a move up. So imagine going into your past client database. We put a marketing piece out, we bring them into a live Zoom, and you and I can record one and send it out, right? Or we can do a live event with them, and we're going to teach them, but we're going to deal with 2 strategies, Dave and Todd. We're going to address in the next part to your direct consumer, we're going to deal with affordability, and we're going to deal with the lack of capital in today's market. And what do I mean by that? Probably the 2 biggest hurdles in a move-up position is it's not affordable. It's not our personal budget, and or we can't afford it bank-wise, right? Qualification. Or when I look at my net, I'm looking at the net if I sell my house as a gross equity, what I owe, what it's worth, that's a gross. And then after fees and all this stuff, like, oh, shoot, I only got this to move forward. And now let's go back to your Google reference when you started here, Dave. when you go online, a consumer's going, okay, the online calculator, okay, I put 35% down, then I can maybe make this move up affordable. So a lot of times they're not connecting the dots because the lack of education and options to deal with those two issues. So let's pivot into the move up now. So think of, now I went from one to many to one to one in their database. Here's a great strategy for
Scott, real quick,
But
are you gonna, someone just asked for the full 10-digit number. Are you gonna give
I'll give it to on
a
this
number?
next one here.
Okay, so Carmine or Carmel, thank you for the great question, and we will get an answer for that in a minute. Keep going, bro.
So now I'm in a one-to-one event. There's many things you can do here. You can just flip your Zoom on, go record it, take into a link, send it into your HomeBot database or your CRM database what you're doing is you're creating opportunities to re-engage. Go ahead.
So now this is a consumer headline. So now we're doing an event. We've got a local agent, us.
Yep.
We've promoted it to families. We've done some Facebook advertising, and we've got as many move up. So as many homeowners on Facebook Live or Zoom as possible. Is that where we're at right now?
That's it.
Okay, let's rock.
So, in really simple, I mean, everyone wants to figure it out now. I got the home office. I got to figure out, I got to get a larger yard. I got to get more space. Both parents are working at home, raising their families. We get over some simple stuff. I show them, we know the desires are there. And so now we get into the meat. What the roadblocks? What are the roadblocks for the move up? From my perspective, in my feedback.
Hey, one more log on the fire. One of the takeaways from that Google announcement was that they said in March, how to buy a home was the number one, had become the all-time high search for mortgage and housing. So big takeaway there, guys.
Yeah.
Keep going, dude.
So the two things that we're going to tackle in this, and I'm not going to speak to as I'm presenting here. It's more of the two things I want to help them problem solve is affordability, right? And the second is that capital, I said. So basically what I do in this presentation, I break it out. So affordability, and when they run the rough numbers, they realize like, oh shoot, and think of this. Let me pause for a second. How does a consumer fix affordability? What's their number one go-to strategy? Save more money, save a bigger down. How hard is it for an average consumer, right? That's like, okay, I'm probably making a little bit less money and I need to tuck another 60, another 100 away. That could take years, right? So that's how a consumer fixes affordability. They just put more on the down payment, which drives the payment down, right? Think of the seller buy down. And you know where I'm going to go with this. Capital. How do we move up with less money? How do we bridge the gap of affordability on a tighter nickel? So move up options on the seller buy down. So we're going to address affordability. So everyone, great. We've checked the box on desire. We've checked the box. Yes, I still work, Scott. I still got my great credit. Yes, I have the equity. Here's our problem though. Let's just use, I got to keep your personal budget, or you have to keep my personal budget, agent and Scott, to $6,300. Okay. Bear with me here. This is a jumbo. This was built for my market. And your guys' jumbo, it could be 600. Depending on the market area, it could be 700. So just the percentages are the same. So try not to get, or, there could be a move up in Orange County at 800,000. So there's different ways to present number-wise, but just bear with me on this one. So I break down the TCA. So first I said, here's the house we desire to get into. 1.5, there's the payment, and there's our cash to close. But there's a problem with that. The problem is I got to keep my payment around that 62, 6,300, right? Our personal, or maybe it's a ratio issue. And so they're naturally going, well, maybe we just buy less house. We can't generate more income than 390. So we'll just buy less house. Well, we don't want to move up then, because that's not the house we want to move up. So then a typical solution for a consumer or even an average banker is like, okay, to get that 1.5, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you got to come in with 550,000 down. That's 165,000 more of assets to come in. And we know in this space, not only you have to have enough for down and closing costs, you have to have enough for reserves. So this row 3 doesn't happen. So what if we can position and say, hey, I'm going to check all 3 boxes. I'm going to get you that price point for the move up. I'm going to get you that budget, and I'm going to get you for the net we need to get in. And this is how we do it. And so I show them is, so think about, let's review again. The first row, your desire was price of 1.5 and the cash to close of 390. But we lost payment. So we didn't check that box of 7,000. So now going to the 4th row, I check all 3 boxes and give you those of sales price, move up, budget, and in particular asset. And so now we've checked the boxes. And so we've got the move up, we've got the employment credit and equity. Now we did it on a budget. And so we've addressed affordability with the seller buy down, and we get into that. And so watch, here's the gentleman who asked the question on the TCA. And I review. Our goal was 1.5. Our budget was 63, but we cannot come down, either reduce price and or come in with additional assets here. In this case, notice I have a house icon. Remember, they were going to settle for 170,000 less in house to make it happen. They didn't want to do it. And that's where a lot of the dreams fail right here. Either, well, we can't buy the house we really want to move up, or we can't do it on that high monthly outgo. And so I've checked that box and say, okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. And you can use this one here. This was a live one. Go ahead and text move up on your phone to that number, and I'm going to deliver you that presentation we just went over in mortgage codes, that TCA. So now you're going to experience what the consumer is going to experience right now. Maybe they're not going, whoa, this is a little much for us. But like we were saying, we have that on their phone. They can watch it multiple times. They can digest it. Scott, let's jump on a call and figure this thing out. And so, and I'm going to kind of wrap up just a little bit, because now we're going to go on the second problem, capital, right? There's my question. How do we do it with less capital? Same basic formula, right? 150, but I got to keep the payment at 6,700. Problem is I got to raise $465,000. I don't have that money. And so there's your dream killer right there.
Scott, real quick, go back to that number. Someone is asking for it. I'm going to write it in comments right now, give it to everybody. All right. So the number is 714777425. And I just want to, and text move up. And again, remember guys, you're experiencing the consumer experience. And so important takeaway for everybody here, no matter what you're teaching, make sure you frame it around, hey, these are the problems that families are having. Mm-hmm. These are some solutions. Tell a story, explain a strategy, and the guys get their number. Have a mobile call to action, put personalized local value in their mobile device. You're going to get more ROI. So anyone that's doing any type of Zoom event, Facebook Live event, if you are not capturing, people's data, and if you're not putting personalized, localized value like a total cost analysis in the palm of their hand, remember, mobile first, you're losing money. And by the way, you're losing referrals for the agent. So keep going, man. We got about 15 minutes left, and this is awesome.
Yeah. And so, and then I move down again. So, there's a roadblock, that second arrow. I want the house, but I can't get that 465 in revenue. And so basically they're going to have to, but they only have 315 off the net, right? They have to invest. Well, look at the trade-off here. Look at the payment just skyrocket, 716. That doesn't. So there's a lot of the dreams are killed right here. And that's where the average LO goes, sorry guys, we can't move up. Or the agent goes, sorry guys, this is not a reality. And so they go, well, I can get you a smaller house, right? For that 67 and 315, but we don't want that. We want that we want that 1.5. And look how we did it. So we structured a seller buy down 1.5. We got them the payment they needed, and we did it for a lot less money. And so that's thinking way outside the box. I mean, if you guys came away with one thing today, of taking this move up and going into your home bot, going into your CRMs. You're creating inventory. You're creating huge value for your listing agents, even a buyer's agent, even your own consumer. Record it, do a live event. There's so many things you can do, and you've checked all the boxes. And think of what we achieved here. And I'm reviewing it, guys. I got you the price you need. I did it with 150,000 less without sacrificing a decrease in payment or a house price of 123,000. So we've checked it all, and I'll give you one more time. Here's your capital one. So if you text capital to the same number, I'm going to give you the capital presentation on the move up.
So guys, check this out. I mean, I clicked it, I got an auto respond. Not only did I get a total cost analysis, which is localized, personalized value. I want one of these, but I got a link to your website, which is super branded. It's got great information. Remember, guys, we talked early on, Google is educating America on how to buy a home. And you want to be the local expert, the most well-known mortgage professional online, and you want to be known as the local value advisor. I'm the trusted advisor locally. So two things, you got local advice and you got a local link.
You bring up a really good point, Dave, because I actually forgot about that. So in there, that response had my site, because one of the most common things was, whoa, never heard of this, Scott, as a consumer, right? So they want more information. So I pushed them to my local seller buy down site, so they can now get all the dialogue, all the information, like, oh shoot, look at this. Look at all the case studies. Look at all the examples. Look at all the FAQs. So I am the expert. So if someone tries to come into my area and try to do an event like this, they're not going to be able to put them to a site like, well, I can structure, we can figure it all out. That's just really something that's probably end up going to fail. So I have.
So Scott,
go ahead.
Scott, we've only got about 13 minutes, and there's a couple other strategies. I want to put a push to the mortgage coach community.
Yeah.
If you have done a move up strategy for a family, put the TCA down below. I have been collecting move up TCAs, and I would love to see what stories and strategies that you're doing. Brian Morley from the East Coast has two really cool ones. One where it's like, hey family, column A as I stay in the home, column B as I move up. He also has a really cool one where like, hey, buy this home, at this down payment, and then recast it. Let's show the recast option. Right. So put those in links down below. And then Scott, we have some questions saying, hey, who did your website and how do we get some slides like that? Like, are you going to give us your slides? So if you could answer that.
Okay. So let's pivot a little bit. So all of this was created. This goes to Bill Hart again. Do something for the community, do something for that consumer. And so what I've been doing on the side, been kind of quiet about it. I've built an entire platform called Lender Launchpad, and it's built for loan officers in today's world, especially that Google and CFPB are partnering up, how to get online and how to get your presence to be that local expert. Some of you kind of know about it, but I've been kind of quietly. I'm going to show you some things that'll blow your mind. And so think of this. I'm going to show you something here, here. So think about, now what's the next thing I could do? Okay, so I got the online, Scott, I got it. That's beautiful and all that good stuff. How do I now go into agents now that get it? We've done our online stuff. We're moving and doing our move ups. They got the seller right now. But how do I go above and beyond that? How do I get in front of CFPB and Google? How do I get my presence online? I'm going to show you this. This is an addition to Lender Launchpad that rolls out today. So pretty pumped on this. So now it's really cool. I can go to my listing agent and say, Brad, this is a coming soon, by the way. Give me this. Let's market this listing. I'm going to market totally different for you. And this guy's a big agent, but he's horrible on technology. So when he saw us, like, hot damn, check this thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and build. This is instantly built, and I'll show you kind of behind the scenes a little bit. I drop the address in there. All of this is built. He shoots me his little text. Boom. It builds the mapping system. So now we have the map, the consumer. So this is all consumer facing here. So this is a link that we've built that my job as a lender, I'm going to go out and try to help. But watch what's going to happen here in a second. I'm going to show you a feature. There's our walk score. Look what we've done. I built a total cost analysis player inside of the platform. So now I'm going to give you this link. So now they're on their phone and they can say, oh, shoot. So let me pause for a second, make sure you just got this. How many times over the last 20 years, right? Hey, how do we get our TCAs? How do we get our TCAs on the MLS? How do we market? Because as an originator and a loan officer, one of the best things I could possibly do for myself and my business is get a total cost analysis in front of somebody, a consumer I don't know yet. And I'll give you a couple examples. So when I click it or the consumer clicks it, it pops up a full player. So now I have a full player on the web property website, and I'm talking about financing with Brad Kerr on this particular property now. And so now I'm going to direct.
That is so slick, dude. I mean, I know you told me that you could do this. I've never even seen anyone integrate a total cost analysis into a property page. So, dude, first of all, you are the first one in America that I've seen do this.
Yeah.
If anybody else is doing this, I want to know about it, but this is super.
Yeah. And so what's really cool is the software recognizes the address, populates there. The software recognizes the loan officer, populates there. All I do is I paste in the back on the dashboard here at Lender Launchpad, I paste my TCA. So think of this. I'm now partnering with all of my local listings and my agents now in giving them all this value. But let's say rates change. But let's say the price changes. What do? I go in and just re-record. All right, just boom, 2-second video. I don't need to do anything here. It automatically updates. So thanks, Mortgage Coach, making it easy for us. But look what else we have integrated. So we now pull the APIs of walk scores. Now I pull the API and all the data. You did a great interview. I think people missed it with the gentleman from OB. So
thank you for that. Yeah, not enough people saw that. That was a cool interview.
Yeah, I loved it. And so now I'll give them live locked funded data. They can look at trends on that. There's one thing that we pulled off this morning. I don't have a count for social survey, but here's what that looks like. I'll give you, like you mentioned, Ryan Grant. This is Ryan Grant's listing here. He hasn't even seen this yet. So this is Ryan. We pasted the address, and you know what the agent did? We embedded now virtual tours and Matterport. So now the consumer on their phone or on the dashboard, they can now keep it healthy, right, in this environment. Now they can toggle through this listing and really get a perspective on what they're going to be getting into. And then there's his total cost. Actually, he didn't put it in here. Well, he doesn't know about it yet. But look what else he pulls in. We pull in an API of social survey. We pulled in the Optimal Blue. And at the end, what you'll see probably later today, you're going to see a call for action. I already recorded my video. It's a little talking headshot of me that sits there and now brings them to, let's start sitting down and doing a total cost analysis based on your family's needs, your strategy, your budgets, and there's all my application stuff online. And so
Scott, this is sick. Jeremy Baxter just said embedding a TCA is straight ninja. So yeah, dude, this is the first time I've seen this, so I love it. If anybody wants to learn about Lender Launchpad, one person asked, is that with Mortgage Coach? No, I mean, we're Mortgage Coach. We're the advice engine, rate watch, community. Scott is a customer of ours, and he's also an innovator and an entrepreneur. So Scott, if anybody wants to learn about Lender Launchpad, what should they do?
Yeah, so you just go to lenderlaunchpad.com. This is the homepage. So you go to lenderlaunchpad.com, and it's pretty simple. You can just join basic plan. It's $99 a month. There's no commitments, no sign up, no nothing. You're going to get your site instantly. Now you have Dave Savage at Lender Launchpad. You'll get all the other niche sites. You'll get your seller buy down site. We built a non-QM, but we pulled it back, just market conditions. There's your site right there. And all of the niche sites you're going to get. You get your lender link. You get all your stuff. There's your Optimal Blue integration. There's your social survey integration. Here's all your listings right here, features. There's all your, your nearby. We've customized the auto uploader. You just drop it in there, and that's basically what it looks like. It's super, super tech. I mean, it's really next level.
It looks like you need to put in the mortgage coach integration.
Yeah, you're right. And I'll show you what it looks like. I'll show you.
We saw what it looks like. I'm just saying.
Well, no. Here's the integration.
I think a lot of members will dig that.
See this? All you do is you paste it right there.
Easy, guys. Easy peasy.
Done. So check this out. So let's look at an implementation. This one, I'm going after her right now. This is a reno. So my sweet spot are what? 2, seller buy down and renovation. Well, guess what I have recorded for? So now I'm going to help her go market a 203K and home style loan. I just recorded this video this morning, right? So now I'm going to be driving traffic, and I highlight how to buy with a 203K and or a home style loan for this beater right here. And so think about what I got here. And so now you can go ahead and market to properties that are traditional, renovation, REO, seller buy down, I mean, you can go, the sky's the limit. First time home buyer, whatever you want to do.
So Scott, go back to the Lender Launchpad, like that page. It showed all the features.
Yep.
So Mortgage Coach Community, I mean, I think this is, refresh that page real quick. Jason just posted in chat that he has added the Mortgage Coach, or Justin has put in chat. So refresh it, and I guess the Mortgage Coach integration has been added somewhere.
Oh.
Scroll down. But hey guys, here's the deal.
Oh, there it is right there.
Boom, boom. So guys, I'm loving this. Let's pull down the screen real quick. We've only got about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And here's what I believe. I believe that if you're tuned into this show, if you're in our Facebook group, you want to be the most well-known local mortgage advisor in your market. And obviously some people, want to be number one. I got to close over 100. I got to close over 200 years. And I'm going after it. Some of it, hey, I just want a lifestyle mortgage business. But here's what I know. I know that people are living on their devices. And I know that if you want to be locally relevant, you need to show up and you need to create value beyond Google. And I think what Scott just showed you is way beyond Google. Like if you had this and it integrated with all these different tech providers and you could use it for lead gen, you could use it. It sounds like, by the way, Scott, when you were doing this presentation, all the slides were built into your webpage. So it really wasn't like a keynote. It's like literally loan officers that are doing webinars, online events, they would just be going to their Lender Launchpad website. And maybe they'd pull up they'd be pulling up some Keeping Current Matter slides that just came out this week.
Right.
And they might pull up an article that just came out. Right. But for the most part, you're either talking like this, connecting personally. Remember, the camera is eye contact. You're having eye contact. You're delivering value. You're showing your website. You show an image here and there. And then, guys, call to action.
Right.
Use Scott's Lender Launchpad strategy to do that. Todd, anything you want to call out? Anything, that you think is important?
I've just been sitting here blown away at, as I said, Scott's the marketer, right? He's the guy who thinks of these things and executes. And so I think it's just a great opportunity for anyone who's looking for the easy button to up their game. I think it's just awesome. Nice job, Scott.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, really nice job. And to your whole team, Scott. I'm a run a technology company, and it is a beautiful piece of technology. The speed in which you've brought this to market, and then all the integrations that you have, social survey, Optimal Blue, Mortgage Coach, who knows what's next. You're really doing a good job of creating a great online platform for someone that means to be the well-known loan officer in the local markets that they serve. So kudos to you, bro. I want to remind everybody in this community, we are a community and we're only as good as we collaborate. So there's a lot of families. I saw a story the other day where someone was able to sell their current home, put $100,000 in the bank, buy their dream home, because they were able to afford it
Mhm.
and build $500,000 more in wealth over 15 years based off their assumptions.
Yeah.
So I think refis are important. Refis are essential. If you're not doing refis, you don't have a client for life mortgage practice. So get after it. But at the same time, if you're not adding value to your agents, if you're not going out there and leading and talking to people about how to move up, move down during a pandemic, if you're not meeting people where they're at right now,
Mhm.
you also don't have a client for life mortgage practice. You need to do both on the offense, doing these types of events, and of course, on the defense, keeping your customers and serving them. So I hope you got value. I hope you will put a link down below to any TCAs that you're doing. And I hope you guys will all reach out to Scott. There'll be a link to his website down below. Scott, any closing thoughts for you? You're the big guest here. So anything you want to say before we wrap?
I think in today's market moving forward, I mean, I gave you three things. I gave the LO three items and they're easy, that they can go back and reestablish that purchase game immediately. Monday morning, they should be gone. They should be, I'm in it, let's do it. I want to give the presentations. So I gave you three super things, but not only that, they're valuable and tangible in today's market, not just a bunch of junk, but these are three golden things you need to go and you can start on Monday morning with them.
3 golden things you need to know, and you need to start on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Todd, Coach Todd Bookspan, any last words as a coach to wrap it up?
You know, I can't top what Scott just said. You guys know I always end this. Now's the best time. He said, wait till Monday. I would actually look at it now. Take time, take the next 30 minutes to hour, do a jam session, do some on time, and figure out what can you take of what Scott just did and launch it into your business going forward. Because that's the bottom line. You've got time, or you need to make time to actually grow. And if you haven't watched that Bill Hart video, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Sure. Check it out, guys. So if you got value, give us a like. If you love this, give it the heart. Watch this with your mortgage friends. If you are a manager and you lead loan officers, I think this is an important call. I know you've never been busier with refis, and you need to do that. But like I said, you also need to be on the offense. Todd, not Todd, but Scott, you raised your finger. Did you have one more thought?
No, I'm just going, go get them.
Okay. All right, guys. This call is a wrap. Have an amazing weekend. See you next week. Take care.
People.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.